Welcome to Legendary Company A to Z. This is the world premiere of a new podcast we are creating for CEOs and entrepreneurs, owner operators like yourself with a very specific mission in mind. We want to create a community of business leaders who are committed to building legendary companies that improve the lives of every person they touch, become a powerful revenue engine, and help you to earn at least $1 million a year in personal income. My name is Robert Hargrove, and my partner's name is,
I am Mario Krivokapic.
and this podcast is something that we're very, very passionate about, and we're very delighted to have you joining us with it. Mario, what are your thoughts today for this world premiere of our podcast?
Well, first of all, hello everyone. Welcome to what promises to be a very, I would say, useful podcast series. And when Robert and I talked about doing a podcast, the number one problem we have with most podcasts, everyone is just either entertaining or spitballing information out. There is no insights, there is no actual useful, usable, actionable content, which we will strive to do in every episode. How to build and design a legendary company.
That's absolutely right. In order to give people, put people on the chessboard, so to speak, I'd like those who are listening to make a short list of companies that you believe are legendary companies, companies that you admire and respect, both those that are in the headlines every day and even those that may be local examples that you may not know. I created a list of mine today. And for me, a legendary company is one that is famous, that's remarkable, that people talk about. And it's also one that makes a difference in people's lives. So I put down my favorites. Apple, I believe Apple is a legendary company. I love the fact that Steve Jobs said he was going to change the world with the personal computer. Amazon, Tesla, Google, Airbnb. I'm an Airbnb host. And more recently, ChatGPT. To me, ChatGPT only, even though it's only a couple of years old or a year old, it has become legendary. It's changed my life and a lot of other people's lives. But when I ask you to create a list of your legendary companies, don't get stuck in thinking the legendary company has to be a big monolithic organization. Actually, some of my favorite legendary companies are local. LL Bean in
Oh,
Freeport,
yeah.
Maine. Market Basket, it's a grocery chain in the Boston area. Barnacle Billy's Restaurant in Algonquin, Maine. Mike's Pastry in the north end of Italiantown in Boston, and Katz's Delicatessen in New York. You can see I'm a foodie because a lot of my exams are food oriented.
Most of these are restaurants.
That's very important to me. How about you, Mario?
You are absolutely correct. The legendary company, the revenue they're making is not the only parameter that we will be looking at. Although having a lot of revenue helps, but we all know a lot of companies with a lot of revenue that no one would consider legendary, right? My favorite examples are Harley Davidson, where people just tattoo the logo on their bodies, wear T-shirts, Slack. I know for a little bit younger generation, they know what Slack is and what Slack did. Then I would say simply fascinating. Your example of the local legendary companies. I have two examples. One is a bakery, one is a restaurant. A bakery that works from 6 to 10 in the morning and only produces two items, and by 10, it's all gone. Like that's it. Like it's sold out. You have like queues and queues of people waiting to buy it every single day. 10 o'clock, they close. We have nothing more, even sometimes before 10. And the second is a pizzeria in my local time, which is even in a workday, you cannot come in without a reservation. Like, no way. So we will dive into all of these examples. And if you have some examples that you would like us to dissect to see, we will be using a model that Robert and I took a long time to discover, and I will let Robert introduce it. But basically, every legendary company follows a blueprint. There is a model on how you build a legendary company. So, Robert, would you like to introduce maybe
Well,
the
I
model?
want to be, I will in a moment, but before getting into
Yeah.
that, I'd like to say, what are the telltale signs of a legendary company? Uh,
Ah,
One, the best people want to work for them. Customers want to buy from them. The competition is jealous of them. There's a place near my house. It's an ice cream shop, and it always has a huge line of people outside. And I said, I wish I had a business like that. It seems it's so easy for them to create a crowd of happy people, to serve them very well, and they make a lot of money, revenue and profit. But the owners do very, very well. They're very wealthy. They may not be billionaires, but certainly money is not an issue for them. Even the small ones make $1 million plus in annual revenue. And some of the other kind of interesting characteristics of doing business at a legendary company. I mentioned the ice cream shop or Market Basket grocery chain or a Mario's pizza place. The parking lot is always jam packed. That's one of the first signs.
mm,
Everyone who is shopping or eating and drinking seems to be in a very good mood. Employees act like it's not someone else's business, but it's their business. They own the game, and people are lined up in the cash register. Now, uh, as you're hearing us talk about this, you may be thinking to yourself, creating a legendary company, it sounds like a good idea, but it also sounds like a lot of work. Maybe I'm not interested in
yeah.
that. And if your response is that, the chances are you might be successfully stuck in having a business that's achieved a certain amount of revenue, profit, and growth, but is sort of leveled off. One of the things that Mario and I discovered was that building a legendary company is
It's
actually
actually
easier
easier.
than creating a company that's just another Me Too competitor in the marketplace.
I love that. If I can interject for a sec, I love that Me Too competitor because it so accurately describes close to 99% of all of the companies in every single niche or every single industry. They're all just copying each other. They're trying to beat them on features, on price, and it's just an endless red ocean. Endless red ocean.
And there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, which talks about the difference between
Yeah.
the blue ocean, where you're competing on exceptional
And
value,
the red
and
ocean.
a red ocean, where you're competing on price. And I think that there's room in every category to create a blue ocean company, a legendary company. Being the best is the one area where there's very little competition. But as Mario pointed out a few moments ago, you may think that it's a lot of hard work, but it's not if you have a formula. And we've discovered through a
Yes.
lot of research that there is a formula, and you don't have to be Einstein or have a Harvard MBA or work 24 hours a day to use it. So, Mario, what's the first, let's call it multiplier
Well,
in our
well,
legendary company blueprint?
we've noticed that the leader of the company, the CEO, founders, whoever is at the helm of the legendary company, is always a phenomenal person. He's always a legendary person, right? And again, don't think of the Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. Even in the smaller examples, the CEO is someone who is warm, who is phenomenal, who has a very, very good personal brand. And I have my favorite when it comes to legendary CEOs,
Well, who is it?
legendary people. Well, this is going to be such a cliche, but everyone is talking about her, Taylor Swift.
Oh,
And I will tell you what, I'm a metalhead. I listen to metal and punk. So I never listened to her music. However, there are so many stories about how she's treating her staff, for example, right? So paying $100,000 per year every truck driver, everyone working backstage, everyone helping. So she, although she's worth like 1.1 billion as of today, the newest addition to the billionaires club, but she makes it her business to spread the wealth, to pay everyone a fair amount, and to genuinely care about the people. And I think one part of her enormous success is exactly that. People want to work with her. Yes, hours are tough. Yes, especially when you're tour, there's a lot of work. She just does right by people.
That's great. The legendary company always has a legendary leader, which starts with just being a remarkable human being, a special human being. The next
Yeah.
multiplier or foundation of the blueprint that we put down was building a legendary brand. That's very important. One of the things I've observed is that brand makes selling a lot easier. Now, when a lot of people start thinking about what is a legendary brand, one of the first things you need to realize is that a brand is not a logo. A brand is not this product or that product. A brand is the gut feeling that your customers have about you and your company that they carry within them.
It is the feeling you get when you mention it, when
Exactly.
you talk about
And how do you get that feeling? Seth Godin talks about the difference between a legendary company and a non-legendary company is building a what he calls a purple cow. If you look in any field of competitors, there are purple cows that stand out from all the other Me Too competitors, and then there's all the black and white cows. And he makes a very interesting observation that you build a purple cow in your business by doing something so remarkable that people talk about you. That's how you become legendary. When people start talking
yeah.
about you, you start building a brand, and people talk about you not by trying to position yourself in their mind, but through generous acts of helping customers solve problems in a way that they tell everybody they know about it.
If you go down the route of fighting for customers by lowering your cost, by adding tons of features and all of those things, you will get lost and you will become a one more Me Too competitor. Let's take Taylor Swift as an example. Everyone is talking about her. It's insane. But is she the best singer, let's say, of singing voice? No, there are better singers. She isn't the best singer in the genre that she's singing. She's very good, but she's not the best. But there is the mythology, how she presents her product, which is her songs, right?
And that's a great example. And one of the things I wanted to add to what I said about the brand is the goal is to create a radically differentiated brand that outmaneuvers the competition. A number of years ago, I went on a trip to Hong Kong. I went into a camera shop. And in the camera shop, they had like 100 different kinds of cameras. And I'd never heard of any one of them. And one was for $2,000, one was for 500, one was for $69. I never heard of any of them. Well, I went back to Hong Kong a few years later, and that camera shop was gone. Every single camera in that shop and every single brand name in that shop was replaced by the iPhone. Apple came along and created a radically differentiated brand, not only for talking on the telephone, but for taking pictures and watching movies and whatnot. So you think of your goal is to create a radically differentiated brand that does something so remarkably the customers can't stop talking about it and sets you apart from all the other Me Too competitors.
In some of the future episodes, we will dive deeper into this and show you exactly how you do that. There are several ways you can achieve it, and we will dive deep into real life examples, so how some companies did it, and then we will show you exactly how to build a brand.
Now, it wasn't on my list to talk about today, but it plays right off of the idea of creating a legendary company starts with creating a radically differentiated brand that outmaneuvers the competition. Is I think that the
Yes,
third business driver here for creating a legendary company
my favorite.
is well, I'm inserting something into it is disruptive innovation. You can't have a radically differentiated brand unless you are doing something innovative that disrupts the competition. Airbnb came along and disrupted the hotel business. They didn't have to do a lot of advertising to get customers. The idea grabbed people's attention. And what made Airbnb stand out was that they were able to use technology to help connect people who had a spare bedroom with people looking for a place to stay for the night. So I wanted just to insert that. But now to Mario's favorite. Why don't you take that one, Mario?
Well, my favorite out of all of these is you cannot have a legendary company without world class systems and processes. I am a huge fan of systems thinking, build in different systems, and generally thinking in systems. So every single legendary company, and if you look closely at each and every one of them, they have world class processes and systems across everything. This goes to world class supply chain, delivering the product, buying experience, user experience if it's software, customer support, customer success. Everyone is doing a phenomenal, like at every touch point, they're doing something phenomenal. But the systems and processes within the company are world class. You cannot have a legendary company without it. There are so many horror stories of so many of these pop artists and rappers who just don't pay enough their staff. And then when the concert comes, there are mishaps, everyone is miserable. For Taylor Swift, there are so many aerial videos of drivers and staff just dancing while she sings because they want to be here, because they did a phenomenal job setting up the stage, setting up the sound system, basically setting everything up. And this is why people are lining up to see her.
All right. The basic idea here is that you build a legendary company by having what's called a breakthrough value proposition. But to build on Mario's point, you have to have an organizational delivery mechanism that allows you to deliver on the breakthrough value proposition. One of the things that I love about Amazon, for example, is I place the order and the next morning I have a brown box on my front porch. That only happens because that company has world-class systems and processes. Mario, the next one I think is one you're very familiar with, is getting everyone in the organization involved in marketing and sales. What do you think about that?
Oh, I would argue that out of all five drivers that we are going to talk and dissect on this podcast, this one is the hardest to achieve. So, the opening of the book, written by Dan Pink, he's one of my favorite authors. To Sell is Human, he says 1 out of 10 Americans, well, I can say 1 out of 10 humans, work in sales. What the other nine don't know is that they're in sales too. That's the opening for the
That's a
book.
great.
And I love that sentence because it correctly depicts how a legendary company works. In legendary companies, everyone is in sales and marketing. I think you, Robert, talked to a CEO of one company that says wherever a new person comes in, whether it's a junior clerk, a CFO, or software designer, or head of sales, with your regular job, you have three more jobs. Your job is to grow the business, identify opportunities to get more customers, and personally and directly find a way to help us make more money
That's a
by
great
closing
a
sales.
great example. The fifth and final driver for creating a legendary company today that I had down was stay cash flow positive.
Yes. Oh, this is the big
This
one.
may seem kind of matter of fact, but when you think about it, there's basically two kind of CEOs, two kind of companies. There's CEOs who have what I would call a growth mindset, which means a penny saved and invested is a penny earned. And they take what they make and they put aside a portion of it to invest in the growth of the company. And there's others who are what I would call, instead of having a growth mindset, they have a status mindset. They take the profits and growth, they bleed the business, and they go around buying, second homes and third homes in fancy places,
Yeah.
expensive cars,
I
expensive clothes, expensive restaurants. So, Mario, what do you think
I
about that?
I know of one company local here, fairly famous, that does some phenomenal work with the local corporates, right? So they're doing agile training, they do leadership, they do all sorts of training. But the owner of the company, with January 1st, he takes all of the money out of the company and they begin anew. They begin from zero
Wow.
every single year. And they have, apart from few key leadership people, they have high turnover because they don't want to pay senior people what senior people deserve to be paid. They just constantly bring in junior people, which is a shame because they do have this phenomenal potential to be legendary.
That's a great example.
They are well known, but they're not legendary.
I think that we're about to wrap up. Let's each of us make a final comment. Would you like to go first or second?
Yeah, well, I can go
All right.
first. For everyone sticking so far with us, and we will go through all of the five drivers on subsequent episodes. We will try to have guests who are trying to building a legendary company. I just want to end on this note. If you're a CEO listening to this, what are you doing every day to make your company legendary? What are your actions? What are your strategies? What is your mindset if you want to build a legendary company? It's in the vision and it is in the daily grind. So you gotta have both.
A
That's for
great
me.
question. And I think I would add to that, what's one thing you can actually do today to make your company legendary? One action you can take based on what you've heard.
Okay.
Let me conclude by
Yes.
saying to what we said at the outset, this has been the world premiere of the legendary company A to Z podcast. The goal is to create a community of CEOs, entrepreneurs, and owner operators like yourself with a very specific mission in mind to help you build a legendary company that improves the lives of each person you touch, becomes a powerful revenue engine, and helps you to earn over $1 million a year in personal income. I want to emphasize that Mario and I don't have all the answers. We are standing inside the question of how to build a legendary company, and we believe we have as much to learn from you as you have to learn from us. Thank you very much.